From the Watergate building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now, here's Hotline editor, John Mercurio.
It's Mondays with Memoli here at Hotline TV, where we get to welcome our favorite Monday guest star, Mike Memoli.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. We here at Hotline TV receive so much mail.
Most of it hate mail.
Most of it hate mail, but some of it really nice constructive criticism. And also some letters and some questions that some of the more prominent politicians in the country have for us as the two of the most prominent political prognosticators, not just on Hotline TV, but in the world. We just wanted to sort of pick through a few of them today, and let's get started right now. Dear John and Mike, I'm a big city mayor who loves seeing my name in the paper and reading that people want me to run for president, including A-list celebrities like Sam Waterston. Ooh. But really, I'm a little worried. Are these guys just after my billions? Go Yankees. Love, Mike B. from Manhattan.
You know, I actually saw him at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Shut up.
And
Sam Waterston or
Mike B.
Mike B.
I went up to him and I asked him for money, so I know what he's worried about. Obviously there are people out there who would love to see him run, and I can't figure out why, other than because he can finance his own race. No one wants him to run because he has a certain issue that's certainly out there that people are calling for.
Right.
But just because he can be somebody's meal ticket for a couple months.
He can be somebody's meal ticket. He's like the 2008 version of Ross Perot, I think, to some extent, except that he's run a major metropolitan city. But then again, Ross Perot ran a pretty big business venture. He's not going to run. I think he just enjoys the attention, much like he said in his letter. And I don't think that any more time needs to be spent on him or Al Gore. I think at some point you just have to fish or cut bait. And I think that while both of them could finance the race, I think the money's there. I don't think that the interest is there.
There's nothing more aggravating for people like us than to see Mike Bloomberg and Al Gore standing next to each other, complimenting each other on how great they would be for just make a decision already. We're tired of it.
We're so tired of it. All right, next question.
All right, dear John and Mike, some folks wanted me to run for governor of Louisiana, but I ultimately decided not to. I should do a Cajun accent here. Luckily, I had an excuse. Technically, I don't really live there. But still, I wonder, am I passing up a good thing here? Signed, John B., Bethesda, Maryland, not Louisiana.
Not Louisiana. This was not a hard choice, I don't think, for Senator Breaux. I think, first of all, it was not going to be a cakewalk. I think he was going to have, we've talked about this before, he was going to have a tough race against Bobby Jindal, who'd already raised $5 million. And I think that a lot of people look at John Breaux from Louisiana. He's very popular still in the state, but he's someone who hadn't been there in a long time. He's sort of a fixture of Washington. And had he not had the residency problems, I think he would have been able to come back down there and say, look, I'm Louisiana and I'm one of you, and I want to run our state. But the fact that it was actually a technical legal question as to whether or not he was even a resident of the state, I think really kind of
sucks. There's a lot of schools of thought on that, and one is, first of all, if you're Kathleen Babineau Blanco, how do you feel about this? I mean, he basically kind of nudged you out the door. You have maybe 50-50. You knew you'd have a tough race, but you probably wanted to run again anyway.
Right.
Tell your story, and then he nudges you out, and then he doesn't even run.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But then the other interesting thing is saying the Attorney General Charlie Foti. First of all, his media consultant is actually helping to run these ads against John Breaux.
Right.
He's the one who made the decision that he can't run, essentially. And also, wasn't he Mitch Landrieu's cousin or something like that?
He's Mitch Landrieu's cousin, and then everybody says, oh, well, this means that this is some sort of behind-the-scenes maneuver on the Landrieu family. It is Louisiana, to get him in the race, and then he decides not to run.
Right. So, I mean, now you have Democrats left with nothing. They're trying to convince a Republican to switch parties to run against Bobby Jindal. But Bobby Jindal basically probably has a pretty safe road ahead of him now.
Interesting. First Indian-American governor of a major state, of a state in this country.
Major state.
All right. Dear John and Mike, I'm in a whole heap of trouble right now. The FBI is investigating a weird land deal that helped out a friend of mine, and my chief of staff made some kind of inappropriate calls to the U.S. Attorney's Office asking about the probe into my business dealings. Should I just pack up and leave Washington now and pretend the last 4 years were all a bad dream? Signed, Representative number 3 from Flagstaff, Arizona. Well, I don't know who this email is from, but I do know that Congressman Rick Renzi is in a whole heap of trouble. Now, he told the Hill newspaper, and I haven't seen any sort of retraction, but they printed this last week saying that he is, quote, looking at stepping down, actually leaving the House. And I think that's got to be a big part of of what he's hearing from Republican leadership in the House. Look, they lost the majority. This is the kind of issue where 5 or 6 years ago, if there was a congressman under investigation, if there was some little ethical scandal in the House, it would be an issue, but it would not be something that would grab the attention of the House Republican leadership in the same way that it does now. Because look, they say we lost the majority. We are no longer in power. I have a smaller office. I'm John Boehner, and I have a much smaller office. And I have zero power in the House because of people like you, Rick Renzi. Not you personally, but other members of the House who created this culture of corruption that Democrats were able to run on. So, is his future bleak, Rick Renzi's? I think so. And John Doolittle also in a whole heap of trouble too.
First of all, let's say maybe you can look at it this way. Maybe Republicans are actually playing things smart here. On the Republican side, you have all these post-06 scandals resurfacing, and they're saying, get off your committees, think about resigning, maybe you should step out. Maybe they've actually learned the lesson. Meanwhile, you have Nancy Pelosi saying that Bill Jefferson, who's still, hiding money in his freezer, he doesn't have to leave his committee. So maybe they're banking on some sort of tide turning back against the Democrats that they can then spin that culture of corruption back around.
That's interesting.
Secondly, I got to get a job working for the Bush administration. I'll never get fired, no matter how bad I am. I'm still at Hotline too. All right, finally, let's go with another letter here from Dear John and Mike. I used to be a big city mayor not too far from Manhattan. I've moved on, but I like to keep an eye on my hometown. Still, I keep watching something interesting, waiting for something interesting to happen in the race to succeed my successor. What gives? Signed, Ed R., Harrisburg, PA. Harrisburg.
I'm going to let this go to you. I mean, I have been watching for something to happen in this Philadelphia mayor's race. I'm assuming that's what Ed R. is referring to, is the race to replace John Street in Philadelphia. I've been watching for something to happen in this race that doesn't occur inside a courthouse.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to, is this a real campaign?
Not really. I mean, we thought that this would kind of be a pretty low-key race. Shaka Fatah seemed like he had a lot of momentum going into this. And we were just talking about Michael Bloomberg. We may have the Michael Bloomberg of Philadelphia. We have this guy, Tom Knox. He was Ed Rendell's deputy mayor back in the day. He's also a very wealthy businessman. And he's just started flooding the airways with TV ads. Joe Trippi, friend of the show, maybe.
Sure.
Big
friend of the show.
He's his
big
media consultant, so he's been behind all his ads, and they've been very successful. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Tom Knox is now the front runner in the race.
Interesting.
And at the same time, he's also filing complaints against Bob Brady, another congressman who thought he might have an easy entry to that.
I thought Bob Brady was going to be the next mayor of Philadelphia. I'm surprised that
he certainly thought so too. The one thing that I am very disappointed about, and I'm sure Ed Rendell is too, is Milton Street. I really thought he had this. That's indicted ex-tour boat operator, ex-state senator.
Wasn't it a duck tour?
Duck tour boat operator, hot dog vendor, Milton Street, the brother of John Street, the mayor.
Right.
He got in there. He made things very interesting. He was calling people Watermelon Man. It was a great sideshow there for a couple weeks until he finally actually.
Is he running for city council now?
Now he's running for city council against John Street's son.
Aiming his sights just a little bit lower against John Street's son. Excellent, good call. All right, if you had to choose, if you had to pick today, who wins, Chaka Fatah or Tom Knox?
You know what? I'm going to bank on the fact that Chaka Fatah has a better ground game. All of a sudden now, everyone realized Tom Knox kind of got ahead of everybody, and now they're all aiming at him. And so I'm maybe going to bank on him not being able to withstand this kind of onslaught he's going to face for the final couple weeks.
So Chaka Fatah?
Chaka Fatah.
That'll come as good news to Rebecca Kurtzner, friend of the show. Saw her last weekend working on his campaign.
Exciting stuff.
Up in Philadelphia, and a friend of the show. All right, well, that'll do it for today. Sorry we couldn't get to all those letters today, but we'll try to get to some of them later on. But thanks for joining us on Hotline TV. We'll see you tomorrow.
Happy Memoli Monday.